Morning, Christina.
Good morning.
So tell us what this psychologist told you about the ordeal these two Ukrainian soldiers had to be put through.
Yeah, so this is a really difficult thing. So this psychologist treats the most sort of challenging cases, mostly young men under 35 who've come back from fighting. And she told me that she's been treating these two men who were taken as prisoners of war by the Russians. One of them was held for a month, one of them was held for 3 months. And there are periodic prisoner swaps, so more than 2,000 Ukrainians have come back. And these two men initially couldn't even tell her what had happened to them because it was so difficult. And eventually, after a month of speaking to her, they told her that they had been forced to lie down and bound, and a Russian soldier had come with a knife and castrated them. There isn't an easy way to put that, I'm afraid.
I mean, there's not, is there? And it's just absolutely horrific. And reading your piece, which is beautifully written, as it always is, you talk about how the psychologist herself struggled to listen to that.
She said to me she's never, it was the first time she'd not behaved professionally. She told them that she needed the bathroom because she just had to go and cry, and she didn't want them to see that because they might feel that there was no help. I mean, as she said, they are young men. One's 25 and one's 28, and very sexually active and aware, and it's just completely destroyed any ability of them to do anything. So they're absolutely, they just feel like their lives are over. And I thought it was interesting too, because there has been a lot of focus on what's happened to women raped by Russian soldiers and a lot of outrage about that. But, there is also sexual violence against men, and that is even more taboo. It's very hard for people to talk about. And it seems like these aren't one-off cases, because they said that, these soldiers knew what they were doing. And she knows other psychologists who are treating men who this has happened to. And in fact, after my story was put online, one of the Ukrainian newspapers have posted saying that they've heard of hundreds of cases.
Gosh. And I mean, some people are suggesting that this is not just about humiliation and power. This is once again about the Russian view that Ukrainian children have been taken over the border. Ukrainian people should not be having more children. This is an active attempt to stop more Ukrainian children being born.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to explain this, right? Isn't it? But she said that they were told, the psychologist said these men were told that you won't be able to have children, and so she saw it as part of a form of genocide. But it is, I think, also just wanting to humiliate, to lash out. And I think the most incredible thing to me was that the older one of the two, the 28-year-old, has actually gone back to fight now and is fighting in the counteroffensive.
And what was his reasoning for that?
So he told her that he thought it would be easier for him because it would be a distraction. He wouldn't be around women. I mean, there are a few female snipers and paramedics and drone operators, but they're very few. So most places, it is all men. And that he also wanted revenge, but she fears, because he was suicidal, that actually he just sees his life as not worth living and, doesn't care if he gets killed in this fighting.
I mean, Christina, you've done so much work in the past, haven't you, about women, as you say, women and girls who've been subjected to sexual violence and the use of it in war. And as you say, we don't hear so much about it regarding men, as difficult as it is to hear. It's just so important that is brought out. But another part of your piece that you've written is about the fact that you managed to visit. I know you're out of Ukraine now. You've just arrived back in this country, but when you were in, literally, and we do appreciate that, Christina. But when you were in Ukraine, I know that you did manage to visit some of the liberated areas. Just give us a sense of what you saw, who you spoke to, and a sense of what it is like there.
Yeah, so what we're seeing at the moment is the early stages of this much-awaited counteroffensive, and really it's just attempts all along what is a very long front line, 1,000 kilometres, to try and sort of break through Russian lines to sort of test for weaknesses. One of the areas where they have managed to break through is in eastern Donetsk, and they've captured a handful of villages. It has to be said they're very small villages. They're probably, we would maybe call them hamlets. And it was also quite clear from going there that they don't fully control the area, that we weren't actually able to go to the village we were supposed to go because there was such intense firing going on, and the whole time there's the sound of outgoing. I mean, it's the Ukrainian howitzers, but usually when there's outgoing, there's also incoming. And there'd been airstrikes in the area. And in these villages, mostly the people were not there because after they were liberated, the Ukrainians take them to what they call filtration camps to sort of just, talk to them about what was happening, and also just to make sure that none of them are collaborators.
Did you get a sense that much was being gained? This is what we've heard about, that it is just small gains so far in this new.
No, this is tiny. You're talking about a few hundred yards, a few miles on, and this is a massive area. Of course, this is very early stages, and the Ukrainians haven't committed. They have 20 brigades that we know of. I think only 3 of those brigades are actually committed at the moment. But the other issue is we've been waiting a very long time for this counteroffensive, and the Russians are extremely well dug in now. They've had a lot of time to prepare. So, there's lots of, you can see pictures of, the very dug in trenches, sort of concrete reinforced bunkers around the artillery. They've got landmines, they've got these dragon's teeth to stop tanks and armored vehicles approaching. So this is much, much harder than it was. Probably listeners might remember last year how Ukraine, took back Kharkiv area, liberated Kherson, which was the main town that Russia had held since the beginning. But those were really different. The Russians weren't dug in like this. So this is going to be very hard. I don't think anyone is underestimating the difficulty of this.